Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Emma and this is Sketchy Ed, where I discuss and review all things dark, creepy and disturbing. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be going through all of the movies I watched last month, which I logged in my Letterboxd diary. For those of you who don't know what Letterboxd is, it's kind of a social media platform which is pretty much for movie lovers. So you can log all the movies that you watch, you can rate them, you can make lists. It's awesome. I got this idea of Spooky Astronauts and Nightmare Maven, where they do a similar video every month where they talk about all the movies that they watched that month, and I just thought I'd give it a go. So this is just going to be a very casual video where I'll go through each of these movies and just say some of my thoughts about it. Totally unscripted and yeah, just off the top of my head. So hopefully this isn't a total train wreck. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so first on my list is The Descent. So this is actually the first time I saw The Descent, so a bit of a long time coming. I really enjoyed it, so I gave it a 7 out of 10. So those of you who don't know, which I'm sure there's not going to be many of you guys, but it's pretty much a group of 6 friends go down in like a cave expedition. They're exploring an unexplored cave system and they come across these humanoid creatures. It's pretty good. I actually really enjoyed it. I found it super claustrophobic, really tense. I was really quite impressed with the creature design on this one, which is pretty good because usually that can be make or break. I'm not generally a big fan of creature features. If they come across as cheesy or tacky in any type of sense, then it gets me out of the movie. I'm not really into it. So yeah, I really liked this and loved the main character, Sarah. Girl power. And the ending was super dark. I actually haven't seen number 2 yet, so that is on my list. So hopefully it can live up to the first one. But yeah. So then I moved on and I watched The Devil's Candy. This was like the 3rd movie I think I watched on Shudder, and it had been on my list for a little while because I'd heard lots of good things. Like, I like this movie, but I don't know. I feel like the hype was really big for this for me, and when I watched it, I don't know, I liked it. I think the ending for me was kind of where it fell down. I don't know, it was a little bit cheesy, but definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Essentially, it's about a family who move into this house and the father kind of gets possessed by these satanic forces and he starts painting all these wicked things, which I really liked. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, super dark, just a little bit cheesy. So moving on now, I rewatched Host. So I had watched it looks like, 10 days before? And I watched it again, which I always seem to rewatch movies. So I actually have a full review for this one, which you can see, I'll link up above. So I really enjoyed this movie. I had to watch it again with my friends and my husband. I watched this by myself for the first time. So it was really good, just as good the second time round. And if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. So surprising, especially for the premise, you know, being in a Zoom chat. We've seen this type of thing before, and I don't know, in my opinion, not pulled off super well. But yeah, I really like this one. It's really effective and it's only 56 minutes long, so you're really not putting too much time into it if you don't enjoy it. But no, I really like this one. But yeah, so that's Host. I then went to the movies and saw the New Mutants, which unfortunately I really didn't like, which is a shame. I was going to do a review on this one because I thought that this was a horror movie, but I don't know, it turns out like it was definitely more of like an action, fantasy, superhero mutant movie, which I should have guessed by looking at the poster and looking at the name, The New Mutants, but I don't know, I think I expected more. If I hadn't have been in a cinema, I probably would have stopped watching around halfway through, which sounds pretty bad, but I don't know, I don't like lots of CGI, and there was a lot of it in this. Didn't enjoy it. I didn't really like the main character either. I don't know why. She's just kind of, I'm not sure. The best thing in this film for me was Anya Taylor-Joy. I really liked her, and yeah, it just couldn't save this movie, unfortunately. So I gave this a 4 out of 10. Don't really recommend. I mean, if you're into superhero mutant movies, maybe. I don't know. Definitely a miss in my books though. So then I watched The Gift, which I put a full review up for this one, which I'll link above. I really, really enjoyed this movie. This one was a recommendation from Spooky Astronauts, and I couldn't believe that I hadn't seen it when it first came out. I can't believe it took me 5 years to see it, and I really, really do recommend this. It's one of those ones that's hard to tell you what it's about without spoiling anything. So I definitely recommend not watching the trailer before going in. It's essentially about a married couple who move into a new house, and the husband runs into an old school acquaintance, Gordo, who's played by Joel Edgerton, who then starts to get kind of involved in their life, starts dropping presents around at their door. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but it's definitely really dark. It's a thriller, and it was written, directed, and co-starred Joel Edgerton, which I thought was really cool. He did a great job and definitely worth your time. Okay, so then I moved on. I watched Train to Busan, which I've written here, who would have thought a zombie movie could move me to tears twice? 100% true. I didn't think that it would be so emotional. Definitely a zombie movie with heart. A lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of stressful situations. I was a huge fan. I think I saw this one because I saw that the second one was coming out. Essentially, this film is about a virus outbreak which is turning all these people into zombies, and our main character is on a train to Busan with his daughter, and the infection gets onto the train and chaos ensues as the train passengers start turning to zombies. Yeah, I really, really, really like this one. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10. Moving on then, I watched Dumplings. So this one's really disturbing. I don't know if I'd recommend it to anyone. It's one of those that is really hard to recommend because of the subject matter. It probably can be very offensive to some people, but I liked it. It definitely was effective at being disturbing, but yeah, I think I rated a 5 out of 10. So it wasn't terrible, but yeah, I definitely felt like icky afterwards. It's essentially about a woman who feels like she's aging a bit and's lost her attractiveness. So she visits this other woman who makes these dumplings that have rejuvenation effects. But there's a special ingredient in the dumplings, which I don't know if it's a secret. If you read the synopsis, it doesn't really say what's in the dumpling, so I won't give it away. But yeah, it's a pretty taboo, and I don't know, if you're into something weird, dark, kind of horror, then I would recommend it for you. But if you're not, then definitely steer clear. This one's on Shudder. Yeah. Next, I watched The Devil All the Time, which I have a full review for, linked up above. I really, really like this film. It has some great performances by the entire cast. I think it's probably one of the most well-acted films I've seen this year. Robert Pattinson's performance was phenomenal. Tom Holland, also amazing. Super dark thriller on Netflix. 100% recommend. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. I then watched The Haunting of Hill House for the first time. I binge watched this over a week, and I can't believe again that it took me so long to watch this. It was great. It really took me off guard how much heart it had. It was very family orientated, and I really enjoyed how they did it. So each episode you'd jump in and you'd see a series of events, and then the next episode you'd see the same events, or you might see a bit in the past or in the present of another character and their perspective of these events. Very cool. So excited for the next season, The Haunting of Bly Manor. I've heard good things, so very excited. But yeah, if you haven't seen this, definitely check it out. It's on Netflix. It's been on there for a while, 2018, 2 years. Really, really good. I rated that one 8 out of 10. It's probably one that I wouldn't mind watching again. I then rewatched Ready or Not. And I watched this with my husband. He hadn't seen it before and he really liked it, which I'm so glad. This one is so much fun. If you haven't seen it, you have to see it. It's bloody, it's funny, it's got horror elements, it is stressful, and it's just a really good time. And Samara Weaving is just amazing. She definitely just shines in this role, and it's just wild. I really, really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen this film and you're not sure what it's about, it's essentially about a very newlywed married couple who on their wedding night, they have to partake in a games night of sort with the in-laws. So on the husband's family, where the bride has to pull a card which determines what game they're going to play. And she pulls hide and seek, which just so happens to be the wrong card. And then chaos ensues, and it is amazing. So definitely watch this if you haven't. 8 out of 10. It's pretty good. I then rewatched The Devil All the Time because the first time I watched it by myself, then I watched it again with my husband. Often the case, so there'll be quite a few repeat movies in my diary from time to time. I then watched Shutter, so the Thai original movie Shutter. I've already seen the American remake years ago, which I actually really quite enjoyed. This film is about this couple who find that there's these images and shadows and lights in their photographs that they're taking, which they find is like spirit photography, I think something like that. And they find that they're being haunted. I think I might have liked the American remake more, which I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion, usually is, but to be fair, I haven't watched that in so long, so I might have to rewatch it before I can actually make that statement. Yeah, it was alright. Acting was like, Definitely some effective parts in this film, like that were quite frightening. The cut scenes between one shot to another, like, were also a bit strange. I don't know, they were really jarring. But yeah, so all in all, it was good. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Definitely worth a watch. I think I saw this on Netflix. So if you're bored, check it out. I then rewatched for the 100th time Mean Girls, which I love. If you haven't seen it, then what are you doing with your life? So good. Yeah, love this movie. I think I rated 9 out of 10. It's nearly a perfect movie in my opinion. So funny. Some comic relief from all the serious stuff. Jumping straight back into some serious stuff, I watched Audition for the first time, which I actually really liked. It actually disturbed me how much I enjoyed certain scenes that shouldn't have been, I guess, enjoyed. Without spoiling anything, if you haven't seen it, there's a character who's doing some really violent acts to another character, and the joy on their face and the way that they were going about it really, I don't know, I found joy in it for some reason. It was a bit sick, but really good movie, really disturbing in parts actually. I had heard that this was really disturbing. It wasn't as bad as what I was expecting, which I think I just expected it to be like crazy. But it was still pretty crazy. There are parts of it that aren't 100%, they don't tell you exactly what happened or what didn't happen, if that makes sense. So there are there's a bit of vagueness in it, which I try to look into further because I was really interested to see like what actually happened in certain scenes, and I couldn't really get any clear answers. So I don't know, it'd be really cool if anyone could link in some kind of concrete explanation of all of the stuff that happened. I don't know if that's making any sense, but yeah, it was good. I don't know if I'd see it again. It was a bit disturbing. So I gave that a 7 out of 10. I then watched Spiral, which I did a full review on, linked above. It's on Shudder. It's a Shudder original, essentially about a same-sex couple who move into this small town, and they start to sense that there's some sinister things going on. I don't want to go too much into this one, but yeah, it was good. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't. And again, my full review, it was my previous video, so check that out if you want my full thoughts on that. I then watched Django Unchained. I rewatched this one. Love this film. Again, I watched this with my husband. He hadn't seen it before. Yeah, it's a bit of a wild ride. If you haven't seen Django, it's about a slave who kind of joins up with this German bounty hunter who then they become this team, and he ultimately is trying to find his wife to free her. And yeah, it's violent. It's very Tarantino. Love it. Love Leonardo DiCaprio in this as well. He is just so flamboyant and just despicable. And that scene with the broken glass and the blood on his hand, I had already seen before seeing this about it being real and him kind of accidentally doing it in the moment and then running with it. And I find that scene just fascinating to watch. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. Very, very cool. So I give that a 9 out of 10. It's a nearly perfect film, again, in my opinion. Then I watched Ex Machinar, which, again, another film I really, really enjoyed. It's essentially about AI, artificial intelligence. So this man is sent to this remote location. I think it's to his boss's house or boss's retreat, where he's there to test the AI. So pretty much trying to determine whether it passes as real human intelligence or if it's just, or if it's just imitating human intelligence. Yeah, it's very dark. It's a thriller, A24 film, always delivering the goods. Definitely recommend if you haven't seen it. Very beautiful film, like everything looks very modern, high tech. The women in it, so there's I don't know what her name is, but this one you can see on this screen, her and another female in the movie. Very beautiful. Really enjoyed it. I love the ending. So good, so good. So that one I rated 8 out of 10. Then I rewatched The Nightingale, which I watched I think a couple months ago. Australian film by Jennifer Kent, who did The Babadook. I really, really love this film, as brutal and devastating and gut-wrenching it is. I really love it. So I watched this with my husband this time around, and he really liked it too, which I didn't expect. If you haven't seen it, it's a really hard watch. It's probably worth spoiling it a little bit for yourself, just so you know it's something you want to go into. It does have some very touchy themes in it, very brutal, and it doesn't stop, if that makes sense. So something really terrible happens in the beginning, and then you think, okay, so this is the moment that everyone's talking about, but then something else really bad happens, and then it happens again, and by the end of it you're exhausted. But I think it's really brave movie for Jennifer Kent to have made, and it really does shine a light on, I guess, the treatment of women back in the 1800s. But not only that, this woman, our main protagonist Claire, is also a convict, but also the treatment of the Aboriginal people of Australia when settlement was happening. Very eye-opening, disgusting. It definitely struck a chord with me, but I've just kind of rattled on there. So essentially it's about a convict who is in Tasmania, she has a family, something horrible happens to her, and so then she teams up with an Aboriginal tracker. She's going to try and seek revenge. Something hard to recommend, but I do recommend it just because it is fantastic. So I gave this a 9 out of 10. Loved it. I then watched Instant Family, which was just a really easy, light watch starring Mark Wahlberg and Rose Byrne, who I love them both, so that's cool. And it's essentially about this married couple who decide to adopt or adopt some children. It's just a really fun, light movie. And I'm not sure what that's on. I think it's on Netflix or Stan if you're in Australia. But yeah, I gave that a 7 out of 10. And then I finished off the month by watching 13 Cameras, which is something that I've seen pop up a lot of times when I'm on Netflix. And I just thought, looks okay. I don't know if it'll be any good. And I watched it and it's not really that good. There is obviously tension, so that's going for it, I guess. So it's about these newlyweds who then move into this rental property, and the owner is kind of a strange man, and he has cameras built in throughout the whole house, and he watches them. And then, yeah, I don't want to give anything away if you do decide to watch this, but yeah, it's not super good. Probably can skip this one. Yeah. So that was my month in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit different to my usual videos, but I thought it might be cool to kind of switch it up a little bit. Let me know if you do enjoy this type of video, because I will do this every month. If I do, hopefully I get better at it. I'm not very good at kind of just rambling on unscripted. Maybe I'll get better at it, who knows, hopefully. Anyway, let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.